Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. In case this is your first time, my name is Evelyn Knight. I am the host of the Childcare Business Coach podcast, the owner and a founder of Childcare Business Professionals, which is a company that helps childcare business owners and directors find success while balancing high quality research based standards. Early childhood education is my absolute passion. My life's mission is to just ensure that children are getting the best care possible out there and to help owners just find success while doing that. And I know that seems like a unicorn in our industry, but I can tell you from experience, I've lived it, I've been there. I used to be an owner once upon a time who didn't think you could find success in this industry, but it is possible. We can do it. And I'm also a child care center owner, so just like you, I know what it's like to be in a center every day. I've been a director. I've done everything. I've even been the cook in a center. So I know exactly what it's like. I've owned multiple centers throughout my career. I'm getting ready to own, I'm looking to expand to my fifth center. Uh, it'll be actually my fifth that I've owned. So I know exactly. I've built from the ground up. I've taken over an existing center. I've reopened a center. I've had an in-home childcare center. So I've been there and done that, which is why I try to bring my expertise to you, learn from my mistakes, grow from my successes. That's what I'm here for. So welcome. Let me know as you pop in. Just say hello. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. I love the interactions. It does get lonely on this side of the camera, so let me know that you're there. Today, I wanted to talk about just really establishing strong roots and not giving up. Things are tough, right? This is going to be one of the hardest holiday seasons that we face. That we haven't faced a holiday season like this in a long time. And I think it's going to be difficult for us this year in particular because of everything we're going through with COVID. And we're starting to see a lot more regulations come up. We're seeing our capacities starting to become dwindling down again. I know, like here in our state, we just had the fear that we were going to go down to by 50%. So hello, Stephanie. How are you? Yes, I have to say I am a Christmas fanatic. So I am definitely all about Christmas. So yeah, day after Thanksgiving, it's on. Everything becomes Christmas around me. So I had to have my office here set up for Christmas, and this is just the beginning. I'm sure by next week, it'll look a lot more. My theory on Christmas is that everything should look like Christmas threw up on it. So that's just me. And I'll tell you, one of my theories, I'll tell you guys a story really quick before I get started. And something I really think we need to focus on in our industry. If you think about the human lifespan, right, we live on average somewhere between 80 to 85 years. As children, we only spend about maybe 8 to 10 years where we still have that wonder and awe, where magic is still real, right? Think about that. If we live 80 years, and magic is only real to us for 8, that means we're spending 10% of our lives in that magic, right? So I really feel like especially in early childhood education, nowadays, childhood is being stolen from children at such a young age. So many children don't get that magic past the age of 6, right? So we have an amazing opportunity as early childhood professionals to really bring that magic to children. And so one of my big theories for my childcare centers is when my children walk into my center, I want them to feel like they're walking into magic. I want to bring that magic alive to them because I know it's going to be gone fast and reality of life is going to hit them. So if I can give them magic while they're little, and I can make things magical for them, I am absolutely all about that. So Christmas is the perfect time to bring magic to children, right? The holidays are amazing. Halloween, Christmas, St. Patrick's Day, but Christmas is especially magical. And there's just so much we can do to them to bring that magic alive in their life. Just think about it, you guys. Look at those babies that you're around today. Go into your centers and look at the children and really tell yourself, do you realize in 5 to 10 years, the magic of their life is going to be gone and they're going to be based on reality. Think of what you can do for them this holiday season. Think of that excitement and love that you can bring to them and the magic. So that's how I've always gone into the holidays with my own children, with the children we care for. It is very important to me to make Christmas magical because magic is gone very quickly. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that my background is in neuropsychology. That's what I went to college for. And I just know, like, with human growth and development, that window is so minute. So the more magic I can bring those children, I don't know, just more fulfilled my life will be. It's one of my life's mission is to make sure that I make their early years just filled with wonder and awe. It's so important to me. So just hopefully I can spread that to a lot of you guys so we can just give more children more magic throughout the world. Okay, so today back onto our topic, strong roots and don't give up. I know it's a tough holiday season and a lot of you probably coming out of Black Friday, a little bit depressed. The money isn't quite where it usually is. Things just aren't as they normally are. And we're scared. A lot of us are scared, right? As a child care owner, I know I'm scared here in Nevada. I don't know what the governor is going to decide to do. I don't know, is he going to limit how many children we can have? And even if he doesn't, as parents get laid off because their jobs are now being cut, I'm still losing enrollment, right? And I'm sure every single one of you guys are out there. If you watched last week's video, I talked to you guys about how I've already gone through, created a plan, come up with scenarios on if my centers cut by 50%, if we're back down to our numbers that we were in March, and so on. And again, just to recap, in March, going into COVID, I was averaging 115 children a day. We dropped down to 30. It was actually 27 was my average daily overnight. I know a lot of you guys, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys went through this too, right? And so now I'm preparing. What if this happens again? My numbers have dropped. We did bounce back up. We were almost at 100. We didn't quite hit 100 again on average. We still haven't, and just to keep the numbers down, we comfortable about 90. So I'm still running 25 a day, or a day less than what I'm used to. But then we started seeing the numbers dwindle again, right? And I don't want to give these parents their spots away. So we're getting prepared. We're ready. I'm ready mentally and financially. I am preparing myself to be down to that 30 number again, which is really important. We have to be proactive, not reactive. So at the same time, that being said, I also know how much revenue I'm going to be losing out on, right? So it does become really scary to go out and spend money on Christmas. It becomes really scary to act as natural, just to keep going, right? On staff and on everything. It does just build up these red flags, and it makes for a very stressful holiday season. I don't know how much I can do for my staff this year. You get scared, like, oh, but if I spend this money, what if I need it? And I'm only at 30 children for 6 months, and I need to fill in that revenue for 6 months. Do I have enough in savings? What is the plan? Right? So our mindset gets stuck in this place. And so I know a lot of you guys are in the same place where we're going into this holiday with fear. So that's where I really wanted to talk to you guys today about those roots that we establish. And right now is really an important time to focus on what kind of roots have you established? What kind of roots do you need to establish going forward? And what kind of roots will help you so that you don't give up? And I think that's my biggest theme this month that I'm going to really focus on for you guys is not giving up. So I heard a story last week that really hit home for me. And it's just an old Chinese fable about Chinese bamboo. And it really stuck with me, and I had to think about it in my own personal life and my business life. And I have to say it is so absolutely true of this story. So the story goes that if you go and plant Chinese bamboo seeds, you're going to water it, fertilize it, and of course if we're planting the seeds, we're planting it because we want this beautiful bamboo to grow, right? So the first year, you're going to go through, you're going to water it, you're going to fertilize it, you're going to nurture it, you're going to love it. And nothing, absolutely nothing comes out of the ground. Second year, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to water it, you're going to fertilize it, you're going to nurture it, you're going to love it. And again, nothing comes out of the ground. Third year, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to water it, fertilize it, nurture it, and love it. And at this point, you're going to be like, okay, you better start growing on me now, right? But again, nothing. You don't even see the slightest tinge peeking out of the ground. Fourth year, doing the same thing. You're going to nurture it, love it, fertilize it, and do all the things that you need to do. And again, nothing at all is coming out of the ground. So then the fifth year, you're going to do it again, right? You're going to just kind of be like, okay, I'm reading the instructions, doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'd love to see this bamboo. Fifth year, you're going to water it, fertilize it, nurture it, do all those things again, keep the weeds out. And at the end of the fifth year, something's going to start happening. You will actually start seeing it emerge from the ground, right? So 5 years, just let that sink in. 5 years, you have planted these seeds 5 years ago. And now suddenly you see something emerge, right? You've worked on it for 5 years. You haven't given up on it for 5 years. You've kept at it for 5 years. Because if you stopped after the third year, it would have died, right? So that fifth year, you finally see a little bit of growth. Well, within the first 6 months, that Chinese bamboo will grow up to 80 feet. There's actually moments that you can watch it and physically see it grow. It will grow so rapidly within that fifth year. So really just think about that. And how does that pertain to your life and your business, right? We plant something. We open our centers, we open our businesses, and we nurture it, we water it, we do what we need to do, right? But nothing happens. And a lot of times you're pouring more and more of your own money into it, and nothing is happening. It feels that way, and there are things happening, but it can feel, especially as an owner, like nothing's happening. Now, with the story of the bamboo, if you gave up after the third year and you looked at that bamboo and thought, it's never going to grow, I'm going to give up, nobody would fault you for that, right? If you didn't know the instructions, nobody would say, yeah, you tried your best, give up on it, right? And a lot of times society does that to us as business owners. And I know it happened to me. My own family told me I needed to give up. And I got to the point where the only 2 people in the world that were still backing me were 2 of my employees. So it's the same thing where there's a moment where you're just kind of like, I just might as well give up. Why keep going? This isn't worth it. I'm just putting all this energy and time into something and there's nothing even popping out of the ground. I'm doing nothing. But eventually it will. And when it does, it just pops and grows. And so I really want you guys to think about that. Growth doesn't stop until you give up, right? So when you persevere and just keep going, you will keep growing and growing and growing. And the reason that bamboo takes so long is that it establishes such a strong root system. Root systems are what are so very important, right? When you're established, you got to go through stuff, right? Before you get to your end goal, before you get to what you really want, we're going to go through things. And I'm all for instant gratification. I hate waiting. I am not a patient person. But when it comes to what's important in life, we have to realize that going through the hard and being patient through the hard and just persevering and not giving up gives us such better rewards in the end. You're establishing something so much stronger. You're establishing roots that are really unbreakable, just like an oak tree. Those roots are just really strong and unbreakable. And it's the same thing with the Chinese bamboo, right? You're establishing these really solid, strong roots. So in our world of instant gratification, we want everything now. We don't want to be patient. We don't want to do the work to get there. We don't want to have the pain and suffering it takes for us to get there, right? We don't want to really just, I don't know, and it does take pain and suffering to get there. It takes a lot of work. But when you go through that pain and suffering, when you go through the tough things, it makes that success, when you get there, so much sweeter. It makes it so much more valuable, and you don't take it for granted. I can tell you firsthand that that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't give up. I pushed through. I don't take my center for granted. I don't take my savings for granted, right? So even though I've saved enough to get through this time of COVID, I really want to make sure I plan and do everything I need to do so I don't have to use my savings, because it took a lot of perseverance and hard work for me to get where I am today. And it took a lot of fight. It wasn't easy. And anything worth value isn't going to be easy, right? Anything that's really important, we need to fight for, and we need to persevere through, no matter how hard it gets. So that's, just don't focus right now on that instant gratification, because in the land of COVID, it doesn't exist right now. We are going to have to persevere. We are going to have to fight for what we want. We're going to have to just be patient and wait it out a lot of times. But that's where we are and what we need. Let's see. Tammy says, thank you for the encouragement. I think we all have these thoughts. Oh, absolutely. Especially right now, right, Tammy? I know Tammy is one of my clients, and I've been working with her a lot on this. And I think especially right now, a lot of us are just having this, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I mean, I'll tell you guys, when as an owner, there were moments where I just thought to myself, why am I doing this? I could go make 4 times the money I'm making right now using my degrees and doing what I could do with all the degrees I have. What am I thinking? I could have made a very healthy 6-figure income with what I've had, but instead I'm injecting money to keep this business going. And so there were times that I just thought to myself, like, why am I doing this? But I knew that long term is what I was looking for. I knew as somebody in my 20s that if I just kept pushing through and I didn't give up, my centers would give me an early retirement by the time I hit 50, by the time I hit the age I am now, right? I knew that if I just kept going. And so, yeah, that was a long time. I mean, I was literally thinking 15 years into the future. I've got this plan in my head that was 15 years. And a lot of you, I know that I just shocked you by saying 15 years, right? Because a lot of you are just like, I don't want to live 15 years from now. But that's what it takes. That is what it takes. If you look at what you really, really want, how do you want your life to look? And you really want to make that life come to fruition, you can't look at that short term. My goals are always 10 years out, right? I start with, I do look at 15 years, but I actually start my written plan 10 years out, then I go to 5 years, then I go to annual, then I go to quarterly, then I go to weekly, then I go to daily. I break it all down to make sure I'm getting to those goals. But it's not something that happens overnight. It does happen. It does take time. Hi, Brianna. Brianna, you need to rewind what I just said, because as a college student and what you're going through now, it is for you. Absolutely, it would be awesome for you to hear what I just said. Just going back, talking about just making that plan. Just look at the life you want to create. Sometimes it's really, really hard. And yes, you do need to look 10 to 15 years into the future. Don't give up on yourself. My question to you is, think back 10 years ago, right? Had you had this mindset 10 years ago, where would you be today? You're going to be there anyway. 10 to 15 years is going to happen anyway. You might as well make it happen the way you want it to happen, right? You might as well dictate that future. I know there's a lot we can't control right now. If there's one thing COVID has taught us, is that we cannot be in control. But just remember, you may not be able to control the situation, but you can take command. We can adapt, and we can learn from it, right? We can learn to fill the gaps. Look for those gaps that COVID is creating in your life and in your business, and find a way to fill them. Take command of the situation and adapt. We can't control it, but we can adapt. So my request of you this week is to really commit to not giving up. Look at where you are in the process, right? You can't stop. You are going to be at a certain spot in the process. You're not where your end game is, right? Your end game, if you look at it as a roadmap, you're somewhere along the journey. You might be at the beginning, you might be halfway there, but commit to yourself that you're not going to give up and you're not going to stop going on this journey, right? There is no option. You have no choice. And that is what really got me through. That I knew, in my mind, I never had the choice. I never, closing my center, giving up was never an option for me. Absolutely not. That's just who I am. I've done this through life and a lot of things. It took me 14 years to get my master's degree, and it was just never an option not to, right? That was just me. It took me forever. I was a working mom, putting myself through college, and it wasn't easy at all. I already had 2 children and working full time, actually I was a business owner before I actually finished my master's degree. So, but I just knew it was never an option. I had to get it done. So when you get your mind in that frame that you know that you can't quit until it gets done, it will get done. I guarantee it. It's the same thing I know with my center, that I knew I would not give up until my childcare centers and my businesses were successful, right? It was never an option. Closing was never an option, and I always found a way. If you've been listening to me long enough, you know that I came so close to losing my center that I had an eviction notice on my door. But even that eviction notice, it wasn't an option. I wasn't walking away. And when you're in that kind of a mindset, you'd be amazed at what happens and what comes to fruition. One more story I'll tell you guys. This business, what I'm doing here, right? My childcare business professionals, my coaching business. I started this business last November. It's been a year now, a little over a year. And I actually officially started the business in January, but I started the foundation in November. I started my podcast. I started really just writing my content and doing all the things and establishing the background a year ago. And in December, my husband had a stroke, and it went undetected. The doctors didn't know what was happening. It was really, it was crazy. I mean, he basically went 100% deaf, lost a lot of his functioning. He went from being he's been on dialysis, he's been sick for a few years, but things really took a turn. So the whole month of December last year for me was just going from doctor to doctor. I actually asked 5 different doctors to run stroke protocol on him. They all refused. And I just knew that he had stroke, but no, I couldn't get anyone to actually run the stroke protocol, and he's, going through all of this. So it was actually Christmas Day last year, about midnight, he had another stroke. Middle of the night, rushed him to the hospital, same thing. I can't get anybody. They just said he's too young, and they refused. Again, same thing. My son, at the time was 15, and my poor 15-year-old son's in the hospital. We're not getting any answers. They're telling us this is some kind of side effect from dialysis. It was an awful experience for me as a mother, to be there watching this play out. It was just not, it was awful. January, same thing, has another stroke. And at this point, we're at 3. Funniest thing about this is we actually went to the ear doctor because he went completely 100% deaf in one ear. And he was actually at the ear doctor to have a procedure to try and restore his hearing. She sent him finally to get an MRI. And she was actually going to go through the procedure, but something stopped her. And she said, you know what, before I do this, I want to send you guys for an MRI. She sent us over to do an emergency MRI. We get a phone call at 9:30 p.m. from this doctor on her cell phone. When I saw the doctor's name come up, I knew something huge was happening. Doctors do not personally call you, for one thing. And when a doctor personally calls you from their cell phone at 9:30 p.m., you know it's a big deal. So when I answered the phone, the doctor basically told me, you need to get him to the hospital right now, right this second. And I just was like, what's going on? It's like, apparently he had his 3rd stroke, and it was right at the brainstem, where basically all your functioning happens. Your ability to breathe, swallow, move, everything. It was so close. Had it been just a 1/10 of an inch over, it would have affected his ability to walk, breathe, swallow for the rest of his life. So here we are, it's 9:30, it was January 6th last year, and now I'm being, just they've got the MRI. We rushed to the hospital, and through that next month, I come to find out that yes, I was right. In December, both times, he did have a stroke. He had strokes, and I actually just remember even having a doctor laughing at me and telling me, "Oh, there's no way he had a stroke." But through all this, I'm starting a brand new business, right? I just started and launched a new business, and I'm going like, what kind of rehab is he going to go through? What is happening here? What am I going to do? And I had to make a decision. Am I going to go through and really start this new business that I just launched, or do I stop? And again, I knew this was something I'd started. And when I start something, I don't give up. I don't stop. So I knew that I had to find a way. I had to find a way to balance my new business, my current business, and now becoming a full-time caregiver to my husband, which is something I've done. So that's part of the reason when you guys work with me and I hear I don't have time, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to hear it. If I've got time, you've got time. Believe me, I'm a full-time caregiver. I run two businesses. I launched a business in 2020. You can do it. Trust me. So facing all that, I still knew I can't stop. I can't give up. This is a commitment I made to myself, right? And I can still be what I need to be. I just have to figure out how to juggle and how to manage my time properly. And I also have to figure out, and this was a really hard one for me, I also have to figure out how to ask for help and where to get the help, right? And so my message to you guys on that is, don't give up, you guys. That's what I went through in January, okay? I still went through with starting this business. I still persevered. My podcast just started in November, right? It was only a couple months old. It would have been very easy for me to just quit at that point. Nobody would have faulted me for it. Nobody would have said, you can't do this, or would have said, oh, why did you give up on that? Nobody would have, right? They would have all just said, okay, I get it. Look at what you're going through. You can quit. But no, I just knew I have to do this for my family and for me. I have to, this is it. This is just the next phase in my evolution, and I can't stop. Now, doesn't mean I had to adapt and change how I was going to do things. Absolutely. I had to absolutely pivot quickly. I had to get help. I had to call my business coaches, and I had to have them help me come up with a whole new plan. I had to go to my center staff and come up with a new plan. I had to learn how to adapt and pivot very fast. And then March came and COVID hit. And now I have to pivot again. And now I have to learn to reinvent myself all over again. So 2020 for me was definitely a year of reinventing myself. Twice I had to make the decision to keep going in business. More so the coaching business than my center. It's never an option for me to walk away from my center. But both times I had to ask myself, can I keep doing this? How am I going to keep doing this? And I have to say, even though the question of can I did pop through my head, I knew I had to. I knew I couldn't stop because I made a commitment. And when I make a commitment to myself, there's nothing. I mean, until the day I die, I'm not going to give up on it, right? So I knew I had to find a way to adapt, and I knew I had to find a way. So did all the plans I made in November when I established the business and I created my business plan, and and when I create a business plan, it's intense. I mean, I write it out and I have got a roadmap created. Yeah, all of that had to go to the wayside. All the hours I put into it had to go. There was no way I could have done what I originally planned on doing. And I definitely had to get more people involved. But I found a way to adapt. I found a way to pivot. And I found a way that I can make it without giving up. And that's, I think, the most important lesson for you guys is you're going to have to change the way you do things. Absolutely. If we're going to survive, we can't stick with our plans all the time. And you're going to probably have to get some help. Right? I know I had to get a lot of help. I actually work with two business coaches now instead of just one. I have my financial advisors and my business coach, and I really had to learn and just completely throw away what I had planned and come up with a brand new plan for my business. And I still hit my goal by May. I I still hit my business goals. My 2020 goals, I hit them by May because I did find a way to pivot, adapt, and reinvent myself, right? And I still was able to find a way to keep both businesses and be a full-time caregiver. The first 3 months of 2020, when my husband was going through therapy after his strokes, was very challenging because he was pretty much immobile. He was wheelchair bound. He couldn't do a lot of things. Things are a lot better than they were then. But just learning how to really just reinvent myself was eye-opening, and it was, as quickly as I had to pivot twice in 2020 for that and for COVID was really eye-opening. So just, my message to you guys is don't give up on your dreams when everything feels like, I know COVID makes it feel like everything is falling apart around us, but you can't give up on yourself. There are still ways that you can do what you need to do and not give up on yourself. It's the day we quit is the day that we really fail, right? I mean, we all have little failures along the way. If you haven't watched my video on failure tolerance, I highly recommend it. It's one of the things I live by to keep me going. But we all have little failures. That's okay. You don't really fail until the day you walk away and give up. That is the most important thing I can tell you guys if you're really at that point where you just don't know, right? And if you need help, reach out to me. I am more than happy. I am taking new clients on right now. So reach out to me if you need a coach too to help you just learn how to pivot and change courses. I am more than happy to help. Know what you want, right? Picture yourself. Where do you want to be 10 years from now? And just write a letter to yourself and tell yourself, thank you for being this person that got me to where I am 10 years from now, right? Know what you want and create that roadmap to get there, but be ready to pivot and be ready to adapt, because that is really, really what it takes. Knowing really where you're going and knowing that you are committed regardless of what happens. And I know that there's probably people out there who would judge me for being so committed to my goals that I didn't quit when my husband had 3 strokes, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are like, wow, your husband had 3 strokes and you still kept going with your goals. Yeah, I did, because I made a commitment to myself and I was not going to let that go. So that's what I have for you guys today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Send me a message. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. And if you want to schedule a time with me to chat about my coaching program, I'd be more than happy to set up a conversation with you guys. These are the kind of things I can help you with. Same kind of thing that my coaches had to help me with last year when I had to learn to pivot and just change everything I was doing, right? A lot of times, all you need is that outside perspective. Somebody seeing it from a different lens. When you're inside the fishbowl, it is very hard to see what's outside. And so a lot of times just having that outside opinion is extremely helpful. So I hope everybody got something out of this. And again, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you.